Who, whom, whose, that, advanced. Hi and welcome to 5 Minutes French Grammar Fixes. Bonjour et bienvenue à 5 Minutes French Grammar Fixes. Today let's have a look at these words like who, whom, whose, that, and also those sentences when there should be one of those words and there isn't in English. Okay, if you're looking at this presentation, you're probably familiar with the word who, and in fact you may have already looked at my 5 Minutes French Grammar Fixes, what, which, that, who, intermediate. Who is usually translated by qui when it is subject to the verb. And look at this example I've given you where I've highlighted the verb is, fait in French. However, when your word who is not subject to the verb, that is, there is a je or tu or il in front of your verb, it becomes whom in English and que in French. Yet a lot of people will still use who or even that instead of whom, which is not quite grammatically correct as far as I understand, but that's what it is. So the important thing is to remember that in English we often omit this whom or that. What's important to remember is that your whom, who, that, whatever you say is not immediately followed by a verb and therefore needs to be translated as que. Look at the example below. Okay, who is still key in a question, and if it is linked with a preposition expressing a place, like next to, in front of, or with the preposition à. Okay, look at the examples you've got here. In a statement, when you're using a preposition like for, with, so for whom, with whom, you have the choice between using qui and using lequel or laquelle, etc. Just have a look at my 5 Minutes French Grammar Fixes intermediate for what, which, etc. To remind you on how we choose which one on the basis of the word that we are referring to. So have a look at this table. This is what you're going to choose from. So if I say, he's the teacher I have the most admiration for, c'est le prof pour qui j'ai le plus d'admiration, or c'est le prof pour lequel j'ai le plus d'admiration. Now, let's look at whose, which in English expresses possession. There are several options for whose. First of all, we're going to have a look at some questions and verbs which are followed by a, and you need to make a note of those common verbs followed by a. So just like when you say, who do you look like most? À qui tu ressembles le plus? Okay, if you can express possessions with of, de in French, de, your whose will be a dont. So look at this example here. My grandmother, whose cat is fat too. So you're talking about your grandma's cat. In other words, the cat of your grandmother. So when you flip it round and you want to say my grandmother, whose cat is fat too, you say ma grand-mère, dont le chat est énorme elle aussi. Now, this becomes complicated when your whose is linked to a position preposition, such as in, next to, opposite, etc. You might want to skip this bit, it's quite tricky. You're still expressing possession, but because you have a preposition in your sentence, you need to use the words such as lequel, laquelle from the table I've just given you earlier on. So if you want to say, my grandmother, whose flat I live in, is very rich, effectively what you're saying is in the flat of whom I live. And you can say ma grand-mère dans l'appartement de laquelle j'habite, and you chose laquelle because your whose is referring to the word grand-mère, to the word, okay, not the fact that your grandmother is female, but the fact that the word grand-mère is feminine, okay. Now let's go back to dont. This little word dont is very interesting and will make you sound quite fluent if you use it correctly. And that is tricky. In fact, some French people find it tricky and use it wrongly or even do not even use it when they should, but I won't get into that. Let's have a look at dont when in English it means that or of whom, of which, about which. And this happens when the French adjective or French verb that you're using is followed by de. And I'm giving you a list of the most common verbs that are followed by de here. Have a look at them. So let's have a look at some examples. La ville dont je parle est très connue. So you have a dont here because if you flip this round, it would be je parle de la ville de Londres or whatever, et elle est très connue. Okay, so if you flip it round, you're saying la ville dont je parle, the city of which I'm talking about, or the city I am talking about is very well known. Okay, in English, it's not necessarily something. Okay, I bet your head is about to explode. So here are some expressions or phrases that you could just memorize to dazzle people when you speak French. Ce dont je parle, ce dont je rêve, ce dont j'ai besoin, ce dont j'ai envie, c'est, etc. And some more dazzling sentences.